Good morning. Let us open with prayer. Thank you, loving God, for the time we have here this morning. May it be fruitful in your truth, and may your message live in our hearts. Amen. At first, I wanted to say that I almost didn't use this chapter in my presentation because it just seemed too easy. But in all truth, this is probably the hardest part of anyone's life, let alone clergy, and that is the practice of daily well-being. Matt Bloom, the writer of Flourishing in Ministry, How to Cultivate Daily Well-Being, is the book I decided to write my presentation on and I use chapter 1 in writing. He starts out by defining well-being as the psychological, social, and spiritual health of a person. Wellness is about a healthy body and mind. Well-being is about a flourishing life. He says that a very helpful way to think about well-being is to break it down into 4 principal dimensions. Of course, the book explains this deeper, but I will try to sum it up the best I can. The first is daily well-being, the quality of our daily lives. Resilience, our capacity to adapt, change, and respond to life's challenges, and also our capacity to grow, learn, and develop new capacities and capabilities. Authenticity, our sense of self-integrity and dignity. And thriving, the meaning and significance we experience in our lives, our sense of having values and beliefs that inspire us, create purpose, and provide moral guidance to our lives. Experiencing deep and positive connections with others. He goes on to say that we flourish when we experience daily well-being, resilience, integrity, and thriving. We all have our own needs of well-being, and they are different as to what, where, who, with, and how we live. But Bloom states that he finds that the term self-care to be troubling because it is often used in ways that seem to overlook and ignore the profound ways our health and well-being are impacted by the people and groups we live and work with. As much as we are responsible for our own well-beings, we are also responsible for each other's. The cultures we interact in and are a part of basically define our well-being and who we are. He goes on to talk about daily well-being of clergy and brings up a very important conclusion. He says, I have heard several conclusions about well-being of clergy. Pastors deceive themselves into believing they are satisfied with ministry. Pastors love their work too much. Pastors over-invest in work and under-invest in the rest of their lives. But at most, these explanations offer a partial explanation. We don't know everything there is to know about the dynamics that underlie a clergy's daily well-being, and there is more we need to learn. He goes on to explain what he calls pastor-ministry alignment, which I'm running out of time, so I need to be aware. This explains what the idea of a good fit between people and their work environment are. He breaks these down into 3 duties: competency, duty, alignment. This is where a pastor has the knowledge, skills, and experience to take the pastoral role he fills or might fill. Needs supply alignment, which is seen as degree to which a particular pastoral role supplies the resources required to meet the needs of the pastor and their family. And a value alignment. This is the match among a pastor's core life values, religious beliefs, and fundamental orientation to minister and those of the church the pastor is serving. Basically, is the pastor's theology similar to the theology of the church they are serving? Bloom says that these 3 forms of alignment are essential to pastoral effectiveness and well-being. He says there is no one right way to take on pastoral leadership. Effective pastors are innovative. Most of it is a search for radical innovation. An innovation to create major and positive changes. Each pastor has his or her own way of approaching effective and radical leadership. There is no one best way for all pastors to lead. So, as we read this book, please read it because it's a great book to read. Realize that we are all called to be radical pastors in new life, to new people, to pastor radical lives in the new relationship, in their new relationship with God. And let us find the radical God in our radical leaderships. Amen.